Hello there, fine folks. I would like to start this video by stating the obvious. This isn't a personal attack on anyone. Opinions are opinions, no matter how retarded they might be. So if you get triggered by this video, you can fuck off. So, anyway, God of War Ragnarök came, and it came hard, just the way I like it. It has a superb story and dialogue, stellar acting, sound design, soundtrack, graphics, and decent combat. The flaws I experienced would be quite a few bugs, some even game breaking, causing a restart. Some lines of dialogue I found a bit odd, for example, I don't think he did anything because they were men, but fine. The combat is decent, but it can get a bit stale even with the addition of a new weapon and Atreus sections. The pacing is dog shit. Absolute dog shit. In 2018 I didn't have a section that I hated replaying. I can already see myself groaning at the thought of going back to pick up some fucking fruit. More often than not, the game will treat you like a retard during riddle sections. If you spend 5 seconds on figuring out a puzzle, the game will instantly tell you the solution. I am obviously being hyperbolic, but that's how it feels. I am very open to the idea of there being more flaws, but even if there was, I don't think anything could get me to hate this game. But, surprisingly, there's a large amount of people that do hate this game and 2018. But today we are focusing on Ragnarök. I am looking at some reviews from Metacritic, cause what's better than a site that doesn't let users post reviews for 3 days because a shitty game came out and people really hated it. Oh, and don't worry, positive reviews are also not safe. Let me also tell you something about numerical scores. Personally, I don't particularly like them. I don't think they fully represent the actual quality of a game. Also, generally people think that only 7 to 10 scores are good and 1 to 6 is just shit, which is bizarre to say the least. If you have this approach, please reevaluate your math skills. A lot of these reviews are obviously short and have subjective opinions, so we will do our best to respond. Alright, let's begin. Absolute must play for PS5 owners. You will laugh, you will cry, you will have a good time. Play the 2018 one first though, a contender for one of the best games period. Left me speechless. Calling this a game is really undermining the whole experience from start to finish. 0 out of 10. See what I mean about math skills? Alright, so now we get a bit more. Overrated, sadly. Underwhelming first 7 hours, bad level design with invincible walls, boring platforming and slow walking, reused old realms and enemies. 0 out of 10. Alright, so it took me 40 hours to get the platinum trophy. It will obviously take some people a longer or shorter amount of time to get that. But if you took my time to 100% it and subtract 7 hours, you still got 33 hours left. So I would say 33 good hours beat 7 bad hours. I don't think I would call the level design bad, but it can sometimes get confusing. And I don't know what the fuck happened with the compass in Ragnarök because it's spazzing out most of the time. It does help, but sometimes it confuses you even more. The simplest solution right now would be to just let us make our own waypoints. It is a standard feature in so many games, it seems weird it's not here. Invincible? I'm guessing he meant invisible walls, which, you know, are disappointing when you encounter them. The less of them the better, and if it happens once or twice I would say it's fine. If it did actually happen consistently, then it's a problem. The thing that was an actual issue was places where the character could clearly go around a thing and they just can't because that's not the right way to go. Think of the Resident Evil chair. Boring is purely subjective, but I understand. The climbing is very slow. The game does give you the ability to use Blades of Chaos to climb faster, but a lot of the game is still slowly climbing. Slow walking segments. This also depends on how much it bothers you. Most of the time they are filled with dialogue, which is good because this game's dialogue is glorious most of the time, but I think it would be fine if they were just cutscenes. It's worse when you are always forced to walk in specific areas. God of War does not have this. The first thing that comes to my mind when I hear slow walking is RDR2. Being forced to walk in your camp when you spend so much time there is just retarded. Reused realms and enemies. I don't know why this would be an issue for anyone. Let's see what is actually here. What is actually reused? In Alfheim we revisit a small portion of the Light Temple and fight some Dark Elves. Most of Alfheim is this desert area where we fight Phantoms, Light Elves and Dark Elves. Throughout 2018 and Ragnarok we got to know more about the war between the Dark Elves and Light Elves. It would be bizarre if we went to Alfheim and the Dark Elves were just non-existent. Alfheim also looks very different, and the parts we revisit are also different because the Light Elves are in control right now. We revisit Jotunheim, but it is a completely different and larger area with its own story. We revisit the Lake of Nine, but it is frozen, providing a new way to travel. It has new areas and new enemies not seen before. Muspelheim has new challenges and areas and is actually significant in the story. Niflheim now has a training area, a quest that actually rewards you for destroying these fucking ravens and has a story significance and a new area that shows up after finishing the story. Helheim doesn't have much side stuff, but what it does have is an amazing boss fight and some incredible story moments. We get new realms such as Vanaheim, Svartalfheim and the mostly scripted Asgard. Vanaheim and Svartalfheim are large areas with many side quests and many new enemies. I don't understand what the devs were supposed to do. There is so much variety that it completely justifies reusing some stuff, plus it makes sense to reuse a lot of things from 2018. It would be bizarre if some realm was blocked for no reason or a new 10th realm was added. The game does a lot to give you a wide variety of new places and new faces to punch. Bad combat, same old animations, and how many in total? 3 to 5? Bad graphics, poor art design, story make no sense. Too many police crime moments, Kratos becomes a Lebowski, aggressive marketing and lies, bad level design, grind, 0 out of 10. Same old animations? Yes, the Leviathan Axe and the Blades have mostly the same animations, but 3 to 5 in total? I think we know that it's not true. But hey, let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Story make no sense. Let me respond with story make sense. Too many please cry moments. I don't think that a single please cry was not deserved or not earned. Kratos becomes a Lebowski. I don't see how did you even make that connection, but you do you. Now this is interesting. Aggressive marketing and lies. Before the game came out we got the tease at State of Play, PlayStation Showcase trailer, father and son CG trailer, the launch trailer, unboxing of the Collectors and Jotnar edition, the stupid and unfunny Ben Stiller, LeBron James and John Travolta thing, Rick and Morty ad, combat and enemies elevated, and Midgard myth. I couldn't spot a single lie in any of these, but you are more than welcome to correct me, and I would not call this marketing aggressive. Do you really consider these few things aggressive? Just because you see a new video game's ad when it's coming out, it's not aggressive marketing. I already touched on level design previously. Now this thing, grind. Personally, I despise grind. That's why I can't play MMOs and looters. They are incredibly boring and frustrating for me. In God of War 2018, Niflheim was grindy, that's true. There is not a single thing in Ragnarok that resembles grinding, unless you would consider collectibles grinding. According to the definition, collectibles could apply. I never even considered collectibles to apply to grinding. Hey, learning new things every day, folks. Attempts too much and delivers far too little. A lot of the story seems unnecessary or unoriginal. Like Brock dying. It was like an Assassin's Creed game all of a sudden, where death is the only thing that inspires vengeance in the player. So why is this a bad thing exactly? If it's done well, it's done well, and if it's not, it's not. Talk about the actual game. Assassin's Creed doesn't own vengeance, and I know that these days Assassin's Creed ain't what it used to be. Valhalla is probably one of the most painfully mediocre games I've ever played, and even that has some good moments. Also, Brock's death happens like an hour before the story ends, so that's not the sole inspiration. Important moments are solved off screen in 5 minutes. Like the unification of Alfheim or the recruitment of Hel's army. We already know that the peace between the light and dark elves only existed because of Freyr. Apparently both sides love him and only trust him. He also has his 2 elf friends who are a light and dark elf and are in love. He can use them to show all of the elves what peace can truly be. Hel's army is easy. Hildisvini and Mimir made a deal with the bird who is the ruler of Hell. The consequences of that are to be seen in the next game, I suppose. Nowhere near enough character development to justify Sif suddenly being a good guy on her 5th line of dialogue in the game right at the very end. She isn't suddenly a good guy. If you actually listened to the dialogue, you would know that she's been telling Thor for years that Odin is a piece of shit. Plot armor is not cleverly hidden from view like you'd expect? What the fuck does that even mean? How is plot armor cleverly hidden in anything? Large pieces of the game can be removed and nothing changes from the game's resolution. Garm/Fenrir and the creation of the Jormungandr can be removed from the game and nothing about Ragnarök changes. This is actually an insane point. Did you play the fucking game? If Fenrir's soul wasn't put into Garm, all of our characters would die. If Jormungandr wasn't created, he wouldn't be fighting and distracting Thor from what our characters are doing. How are these two things not important? Rather than wax lyrical about all the game's contradictions, stop right there. Don't use phrases which are alien to you to sound smart. Wax lyrical means talking in a highly enthusiastic and effusive way at great length. How does that apply to anything you said? Also, would you enthusiastically talk about the flaws of something you love? Does that make sense to you? Imagine buying a $200 plastic hammer in the hype and getting it for this. Oof. No one made you buy it. You chose to buy the $200 collector's or Jotnar edition for some reason. You still got a cool item. Before launch they clearly showed what items were in these editions. If you bought it you were clearly excited. And suddenly once you got it and you didn't like the game, you hate the hammer? This is not your traditional God of War. You are not always in control of Kratos. Just think of Sony making God of War like they did with The Last of Us 2 playing Abby. Not invested in Abby or Atreus. Too bad you will be forced to play the character. So first of all, Sony didn't make shit, it was Santa Monica and Sony was the publisher. They made it like they made The Last of Us 2. How the fuck did you come to this conclusion? I really want to know how the fuck did you get to this point? Ragnarök doesn't shit all over its history and characters. Both 2018 and Ragnarök are proud of their story. The characters flourish and are not constantly shat on like in The Last of Us 2. Comparing Abby to Atreus is actually nuts. Abby murdered one of the most beloved characters in gaming in cold blood. Atreus made Kratos smile. I don't think you understand how much that means. I understand being annoyed at the Atreus sections, not all of them, but his Jotunheim section is probably the worst part of the game. Somehow, I always find myself talking about goddamn Last of Us 2 in my videos. That game is the pinnacle of disrespecting the fans in your own franchise. The story is less adult-oriented and more in line with teens. Do you mean that the story is childish? I would really like to know exactly in what way, cause I never got that impression. It's the weakest story-wise of all the God of Wars, in my opinion. Well, he said in my opinion, so he is safe now. I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. God of War 1, 2, 3, Ascension, Chains of Olympus, Ghost of Sparta have bad stories. They are awesome games, but the stories are not very good. Actually, I might make a video on them in the future talking about them in detail. I don't see why not. I am truly sorry for what happened to the once great God of War series. After Cory Barlog took over, the series went from an epic hack and slash game to a corrupted Souls-like that was completely lacking in gigantism, violence, sex scenes and cool boss battles. So if you would have done one Google search, you would know that Cory Barlog was the director of God of War 2 as well as 2018, and he was the creative director on Ragnarok. He didn't take over anything. No one just takes over a franchise as big as God of War. You might be surprised, but a director of a movie and a director of a game have a lot of differences. In the gaming industry, you might not even have a director on a given project. Sometimes there might be even a couple of directors. Of course, movies can have that too, but games are generally much more complicated to make. And in movies, shows, games, there is never just one person responsible for every decision. There's producers, executives which have a large say on projects. Lacking in gigantism, violence, sex scenes and cool boss battles. Do you really miss those sex minigames that much? They were funny, sure, but are they really necessary? How can you even say that it's lacking in gigantism, violence and cool boss battles? I don't want to be that guy, but did you even play 2018 and Ragnarok? I am generally silent about the plot. Yesha was written by a child from elementary school and now they are trying to sell us DLC for $70. I think this is arrogance and disrespect for users. I hope the second reboot of the series will go better than from 2018 and the series will live for more than 1.5 parts. So I really don't know what the fuck is this person saying here. What disrespect and arrogance? Where is it? They made it worse than the previous game. Atreus is just useless. He's not helping you at all. He fires one arrow every few minutes and that's it. The previous God of War was way better than this one. Don't buy it full price. What the fuck? He fires one arrow every few minutes? I can't tell if this person is being hyperbolic or not. This is just factually not true. There are enemies in both this and 2018 that are unkillable without Atreus, or in this case of Ragnarok, Atreus or Freya. The people rating this game 0 to 1 are just pathetic. Complaining about cutscenes and storytelling game? Because all you want is to smash monsters? Are you serious? If you just want to bash your head mindlessly into the keyboard and not to care about the immersive plot, just go play something suitable for another 10-year-old like you. You played God of War on a keyboard? Never mind that, you posted a 10 out of 10 review of a game and only said that the people that don't like it are pathetic. There are segments in the game which are structured very poorly. For instance, the beginning of that fucking Jotunheim Ironwood section is like that. Cutscene, slow walk, cutscene, pick up fruit, slow walk, and so on. There are worthwhile things in it, but it was so boring I just wanted to get out of there. Just because someone doesn't care about the story doesn't mean they are a mindless 10-year-old. I love this story, but if you don't like it or care about it, that's fine. It's only when you say it's bad that we are going to have an issue. Enjoyment and quality are different things, people. Really bad story, really bad design Asgard. I wished Cory Barlog still be directing of God of War Ragnarok, not Eric Williams. Gameplay is awesome, but story, game and even design, some characters like Heimdall. Is he child? Looks like Eric Williams skipped all story, no answered the question for last game and not even one right ending for us fan. How is Heimdall a child exactly? Heimdall is actually done so fucking well. The fact that he can read minds or intentions of the people around him gives opportunity for some good shit. I mean, his last word to Kratos was monster. And if you remember this...
You cannot change. You will always be a monster.
I know. But I am your monster no longer.
It just hits you right in them feels and worries. I don't want to make fun of this person's English, but fucking hell. No answer the question for last game? What question? What was the big question that wasn't answered in Ragnarok? Not the right ending for us fans? Why? I don't want to sound condescending, but if you're gonna make points, have at least one argument? What the fuck does that even mean, not the right ending? This is storytelling, there can be a gazillion endings. Which one of them is the right one exactly? Overhyped, linear, PS4 graphics on PS5, more movie than game. So if you only play the main story, there is 7 hours of cutscenes. According to How Long to Beat, the main story takes about 23 hours to finish. That doesn't take into account the difficulty, so it can differ. So that's not true already. Gameplay mechanics are exactly the same as the first. I'm assuming you mean 2018, cause if you mean the actual God of War 1, then you would be insane. So why wouldn't they be? Do you expect developers to completely change the gameplay every single time a new one releases? Did you want a visual novel or what? The devs were so scared of failure, they copied the formula of the original to the point that it's essentially the same game with different bosses. I mean, exactly. Same house in the snow, instead of taking down a deer with Loki, you have to do the same trick, but just for another reason. Then you fight Baldur in the first, it's the same again with different boss. They copied the formula of the original? What? I think this person doesn't know that there was much more God of War games prior to 2018 and Ragnarok. Same house in the snow, why is their house a problem? You don't do the same track, you fight a boss in the beginning of the game just like previously, so this means it's bad and lazy? What is this logic? I can't really do anything with the rest of this review besides saying that I don't agree. Just here doing my part to balance out Gen Z pro gamer Dillweeds complaining about long cutscenes and long walking sequences with dialogue, who wouldn't know amazing storytelling and world building if it hit them in the face. Santa Monica delivered a masterclass, period, 10 out of 10 for a meticulously curated gaming experience. Just here doing my part. You're a fucking zombie, dude. This isn't some fucking war. I'm gonna do my part so a game I like has a higher number on Metacritic? You gave the game a 10 out of 10 just for that? Well, I'm sure you liked the game, but 10 out of 10 means that there isn't any flaws, that it's perfect. There's quite a few flaws that I've already talked about earlier. Stop attaching yourself to a piece of media like your life depended on it. It has flaws, and that's fine. I don't think there is a single 10 out of 10 out there. Granted, I haven't played all video games. Unless you mean The Last of Us 2, because that game's perfect. It is the exact same as the first God of War. There isn't much there in terms of gameplay evolution. This could be fine if the story was better, however it is not as well written as the previous one. Personally, I believe this is due to the dumbing down of the overall design. How is this exactly the same as the first God of War? Please tell me how the overall design is dumbed down, and the story is worse due to dumbing down of the overall design? What does the design of the gameplay have to do with the writing? The puzzles in the game are frankly a 0 out of 10. Not because of the puzzles themselves, most are easy enough, but due to the NPCs literally being on a 25-second timer to flat out tell you exactly how to do the puzzle. The designers don't give you a single minute to try and figure it out before whatever NPC you are with is explaining what to do and then rushing you along once you finish the puzzle. So this is actually true. Your companions just treat you like a retard, which is incredibly annoying. To put it simply, the target audience of this game is not serious gamers, it is people who do not like video games or people who really just wanted to watch a movie. So maybe Snyderoids would like a 30-hour movie, but I really don't think anyone who bought this game doesn't like video games. The people who praised The Last of Us 2 and Resident Evil 8 don't like video games. The highest difficulty feels like what the normal difficulty would be on a game made 12 years ago. Really? 2010? Was 2010 the year of hard games? What were the biggest games of 2010? Mass Effect 2, Red Dead Redemption. Was God of War 3 harder than Ragnarok on the hardest difficulty? By a bit for sure. Bioshock 2, Halo Reach, AC Brotherhood, New Vegas, Force Unleashed 2. Blech. Oh my god, Prison Break had a game? I need to check that out. Were games really that much harder back then? The game is designed for the lowest common denominator, and frankly it's insulting to be treated like an idiot by the game itself, but that is one of the dead giveaways to who it is designed for. So I would actually agree with this, that it is insulting that the game treats you like a retard during puzzle sections, but only then. Don't get me wrong, it's still bad, but it's not that bad of a thing. If we get this level of care and detail in every game, then I'm fine with the NPCs sometimes treating you like an idiot. You could have just given us the option to turn them off, and it would be fine. The Sony formula is getting stale, and the people who find this design appealing are dwindling. It has become an echo chamber of Sony fanboys, while genuine criticism gets swished away as petty hate. Yeah, sure. Dude, don't talk about genuine criticism when you can barely make any. This game doesn't even deserve to be nominated for Game of the Year, yet alone win it. But Game of the Year awards need money, and I'm sure Sony is willing to pay. Why do these awards matter to people so much? Do you really need to validate yourself so much? The Last of Us 2 won Game of the Year. Why would you care after that? Mid-experience, mid-gameplay, atrociously annoying NPCs were $15 on sale. So if a game is as horrible as you said it's still worth $15 on sale, your enjoyment has nothing to do with the actual quality of the game. You might like or not like something, but no matter what, the quality stays the same. Thank you for listening and goodbye.